Foundations of Biblical Hebrew, Lesson 5. Basics of Hebrew word structure. Hebrew words generally consist of three-letter roots. Now what that means is that the root forms of most words are just made up of three letters. When I'm saying letters, it's important to remember that I'm not talking about vowels because, as we already established in a prior lesson, there were no vowels in the original Hebrew. So when spoken, there are more sounds than would account for three letters, but we're talking about three consonants that are the basis of most words. That's the root word from which other words are developed. More complex words are formed from root words by changing the vowels or by adding additional letters to the root word. Hebrew root words can be changed in this way to form nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. In order to get different forms of the words, you're changing around some of the letters in the structure of the word, but the root word is still the same underneath those words. They can also be changed by the addition of other letters to create a masculine or a feminine form, or to make a word possessive. So you might add an I to the end of a word to make it possessive. If you were to say, my God, it would be Eli, E-L-I. God is E-L-L. And the letter I, pronounced E, is what makes that word possessive. So Eli would be my God, or Malachi, what we usually pronounce Malachi, means my angel or my messenger. So you can add letters to change the meaning of the word, to make it possessive, to make it masculine or feminine in its form. Hebrew words can also have prefixes or suffixes added to them by the addition of a letter, just like our words in the English. But unlike most English words, they can actually have another word attached to them at the beginning or at the end of the word, where two words are essentially pressed together to create one longer word. An example of this would be the definite article the, T-H-E, the most common Hebrew word for which is the word ha, H-A. Rather than being a separate word like we would have in English, where we might say the earth, and it would be two words separated by a space, the letter and vowel which make up the Hebrew prefix ha can be attached to the beginning of another word, as in the same phrase in Hebrew, which would be ha-eretz. If you were to transliterate it in a more modern way, you might say ha, comma, eretz. But it's treated as if it's one word, the earth. Having a good inventory of Hebrew root words is really critical to expanding your Hebrew vocabulary, because it allows you to recognize other words that are built on the same root words. I've heard it said that if you can learn just 50 of the most common Hebrew root words in the Bible, it'll allow you to comprehend 50% or more of the entire vocabulary that's used in the Bible. Think about that. Just learning 50 of the most common Hebrew root words would help you to be able to at least begin to understand the meaning of approximately half of all the vocabulary that's used in the entire Bible.